7 o'clock, let's call the meeting to order with Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm told our clerk is planning on being here, but that she'll be a few minutes late in her absence. Be happy to entertain any motions for someone to be temporary clerk.
I nominate Connie.
I'll do it.
Support.
Trustee Bills, I'm sorry.
Nomination of trustee bills by Smith, support by Rice. Any other comments on that? Thank you, trustee bills. Are you willing, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. All in favor, trustee bills being temporary clerk until our clerk arrives, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you again. Motion passes unanimously. Would you please do a roll call of the board?
Trustee Barron,
Here.
trustee Smith,
Here.
trustee Brown,
Here.
treasurer Rice,
Here.
supervisor Melton.
Here.
And I'm here, I'm trustee Bills.
Thank you very much.
Clerk Cody excused.
Yes.
We have an agenda in front of us, although it's light as far as number for business. My anticipation is it will be good discussion and probably relatively lengthy. So with that, though, I'd happy to entertain any motions regarding the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Smith, support by Bills. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Let's see, we do have Commissioner Engler here in our presence this evening. I'd be happy to welcome you up if you have anything that you would like to share.
Just real quick, I won't be too long, so two things. We had a public hearing on our budget, which is always fun. If you want me to go through it, I will take the next hour to go through it. But I think we'll pass. It's always been a struggle, though. Really, a lot of the budget is, we're under budget a lot, and unfortunately, it's because we've been without so many employees, so it's been a struggle, because as you know, majority of the budget is usually employees' wages, so, in fact, we just lost a public defender lost someone because the state said that they could no longer do Zoom, his work on Zoom. He's been doing it for about a year and a half, and he said, no, I'm not doing it. If I have to come in, I'm gone. So, so we're still struggling with that. Hopefully, it'll get back to normal sometime. The only other really thing is something we've been working on for about 3 years now, and that's with the DNR grant for an acquisition of 4 acres at Meridian Park. And why that was so important is we've been leasing that, and the owner's been letting us use it, but there's a big valley in there, and you can't get to about 30 acres, so that will open up the rest of it. The only other ways to get there, it's all swamp, and then you'd have to build a bridge or something to get in there. So that 4 acres actually open up about 30 acres for the rest of Meridian Park. So, but that's it. That's real brief, and I told it was going to be short tonight. So I'll take any questions if you have any. If not, I will sit down. Yes.
How is the Chippewa River Watershed Alliance related to the Chippewa Watershed Conservancy?
The Conservancy is part of the Alliance.
Okay.
So they're separate, but they kind of work together. So the Alliance is bigger. So, okay?
Yeah.
When do you think that 4 acres will be all wrapped up?
Oh, I'm hoping we've had access to it. But boy, like I said, we've been doing this 3 acres, and then they changed it. And if you ever been through the acquisition process through the DNR, it takes forever. But hopefully, all the contracts, excuse me, will be signed by this month.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
yeah, it's that close to being done. I mean, we've been close so many times, and it's,
That's a great addition to that park.
so yeah, so that then we'll build. And there's a safety issue too, because somebody's hiking over there, you can't get any equipment in there. You can't do maintenance in there because you just can't get over to that property without that
Right.
going by there, so. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item 7 on our agenda, public comment. Public comment is restricted to 3 minutes regarding items on this agenda. If you choose to address the public, please state your name and address for the record.
There's nobody online.
Seeing nobody online, we'll check with the public that's present. And let me, for the record, state we opened public comment at 7:06 p.m. But seeing no one coming forward, no one online, we'll close public comment at 7:06 p.m. That brings us to report boards and comments. No change on A, board member reports. Trustee Brown.
No report?
Trustee Bills?
I attended a meeting of the Board of Commissioners, Isabella County, on September 5th, and one thing that was interesting, I mean, aside from the meeting, was that Commissioner Moreno mentioned that they're working on getting the sewer code, the same statewide. The state's working on that, yeah. So that's gonna take care of a lot of, if people make changes, then they'd have to come up to code, for the state. So that's one thing that was interesting. And that 64 of our rivers cannot make the standard for cleanliness in this state. Those are some factoids I got out of that, and they talked a little bit about the budget. They're still in deficit territory.
Can I ask a question? On the sewer, were you talking like sanitary, or storm?
Or was that septic?
Septic.
Oh, septic. And that was my next question.
I'm
is,
sorry,
does it
my
include
bad.
septic? Because I was
It was
thinking septic ought to
septic.
be part of this.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Septic, yeah.
That's helpful.
Sewers is probably already taken care of. I'm sorry.
Thanks. Well, that's definitely a need in our state, so
Yeah.
glad to hear that. Trustee Smith?
Attended the leadership luncheon with Supervisor Milky and Manager Stuhldreyer with representatives of the city, township, county, and tribe 2 days ago, yesterday. And so nicely attended. 2 hours of conversation went by very fast. I think people probably could have stayed there a lot longer, except meetings called people away, but very good event. So next year when it comes up, I would recommend, if you can, attend it, or if you haven't already. I think it's a great opportunity to kind of get an informal conversation with the other leaders.
I agree with you. This is a great
It was
thing.
nice.
Treasurer Rice?
Taxes, they're due tomorrow, so if you haven't paid, be sure to get in here and do not rely on the mail. Pay them online. You can find it right on our website, view and pay online. So please get in and pay them so fees don't get added. So that's it.
Very good, thank you.
Yep.
Trustee Thering?
The Planning Commission meets next Tuesday. We do have a preliminary site plan on our agenda, and then we'll continue to work on the master plan. So I will have a little bit more to. Actually, Mr. Nanny will probably have a little more to discuss next time. So, but yeah, we do have something going on. So I'm excited about that. And
Great.
next meeting.
I'll just piggyback on what Trustee Smith said at the luncheon. At my table was city commissioner, 2 county representatives, and 2 representatives from the tribe. I think the conversation that we had there was more free-form than I've ever felt it there. It was very casual. A lot of topics covered, as well as being social. And yeah, it was well worth the 2 hours to help build those relationships. And I'll second what Trustee Smith said. If it works in the schedule next year,
Yes.
do what you can. I know it's tough during the day.
It's tough on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Make it on a Friday. Anybody could make it then.
No.
So noted.
Yeah, we're hosting
Oh,
here, so.
yeah.
We are? Oh,
Yeah, you got a little pull
We can
now.
do that.
dude. Now we're talking.
Let's see, consent agenda before us. Happy to entertain motions on that.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Motion by Bill, support by Brown. Who had warrants?
I think that was Brian. Is that you?
No, I got January, May, and December, or January, May, and December.
I can go look. Huh?
I thought it was Brian.
You don't have December. I have,
I copied the, oh, I will review warrants after the meeting. I'm staying after recess.
oh,
I guess-
I got my dates wrong.
If anything comes up that
I will,
is striking or.
I will let you know. I
okay.
apologize. I'll
That's
make a
okay.
note of that, so
I'm pretty sure I have 4, 8, and 12.
okay.
So is this board comfortable
Yes.
approving the accounts payable?
I was gonna say.
I-
Not that it matters, but I looked over stuff as I was signing it, but I know that doesn't help.
Again, I apologize for
So,
getting the date
It-
wrong.
It has happened before. You're
So-
not
Yeah.
alone,
So-
so
yeah.
Yeah.
don't feel bad.
I'm very comfortable with it.
Okay.
It's usually,
I will shoot an email out either way on the warrants.
Okay. In that case, I'm happy to entertain any motions someone would like to put forth. Oh, you did, didn't you?
Yeah.
My
I did.
apologies. There is a motion on the floor.
Yes.
Any other discussion then?
No.
All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda passes unanimously. That brings us to item 11 on the agenda, new business. We have a tax rate request form, resolution in front of us. Kind of been following this. Has everybody been getting emails on these? I know I have, but I think that's because of my relationship to the assessment department. I didn't know if it would tear a board or not.
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, you all saw what's in the packet, so.
Yeah.
Mr. Stuhldreher, would you like to introduce this, please?
Yes, thank you. Just briefly, the staff report you'll find on page 21 of your agenda packet, and the administration is asking the board to approve the Charter Township of Union's 2023 tax rate request. It's commonly known as the L4029. In this, as part of your approval, you'll also be authorizing the township clerk and supervisor to sign the document. The purpose of the form is to formally request specific millage rates be levied and to certify that any applicable reductions due to Headley and other things, rollbacks have been applied to the millage rates. And then that form is used to communicate. All taxing units have to complete this form, and then they send it to the, in our case, the township clerk, the county clerk, and equalization departments. And as other taxing units that we collect taxes for approve a similar, their own version of the L4029, then they send it to us, and that gives us the authority to collect the millage on their behalf. And so we're internal to this, but the board is formally requesting these millages be levied and collected. You'll send that to the township clerk, who then sends it to the local treasurer and assessor, and then we have the authority for the millage to appear on the ballot, or not the ballot, the tax bills
Tax
that go
bills.
out December 1. You did this last year.
Yep. Make a motion to approve the Charter Township Union's 2023 tax rate request, Form 614/L4029 for the 2023 tax year and to authorize the township clerk and supervisor to sign the form.
Support.
Motion by Brown, support by Smith. Discussion, questions?
I'm just glad they're doing it. Thank you.
I only had one question related to the dates. The operating millage of 1 mil expires December 24th. Do you know how, when that was last renewed? Just, do you happen to know? I was curious.
When it was last. I'm sorry, I didn't catch.
When the one mil was last renewed, is it?
Says
seen the dis-
August of 20, doesn't it?
I'm sorry?
Doesn't
Oh,
it say
the-
August of 20, date of election?
That's,
I'd have to look into the technicalities of this. The 1 mil is allocated to us from the county board, and our taxpayers do not vote on that.
Oh,
that's kind of what I figured. I just saw the expiration date, and that triggered a question. Does it mean we
And
have to
the
do
county
something?
has an allocation board that meets annually, so it might be referring to that.
Okay.
But I'll provide a more fulsome answer.
Yeah, I was just curious because, not that I'm anticipating that township having a desire to change that at this point, but. Any other questions? We have a motion to approve the Union Township's 2023 tax rate request form, commonly known as L4029. I would not have say that I know that commonly, but all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Resolution passes. Oh, we need a roll call on that.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Trustee Thering,
Yes.
Supervisor Milky,
Yes.
Treasurer Rice,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Trustee Bills.
Motion still passes unanimously, but we're all on the record now. And with that, that takes us to item B on the agenda, ARPA fund discussion. Mr. Stuhldreher, did you have anything you wanted to address on this?
I do, just, I do have a few comments, some information that I think will help in your discussion. The ARPA, and ARPA stands for the American Rescue Plan Act, and that is a federal statute. It provided for funding from the feds to all levels of government, local, state, tribal, villages, townships, cities. And there's certain processes to kind of determine what the amount was going to be for each township. And early on, there was a interim rule that spoke to revenue loss, and you might have heard me speak of that in the past, that we had to, in fact, run through a calculation, estimate our lost revenue, and that had certain impacts. They have since amended those rules. At the time were interim rules. In the final rules, they came up with this concept that they call a standard allowance. And it provides for those entities that are receiving up to $10 million to use those funds for, quote, any governmental service, okay, without calculating or without getting involved in all the lost revenue business. So now, under these final rules, we have the standard allowance. Our allocation was approximately $1.4 million, well below the $10 million. So we fall under the standard allowance category. that does away with all the rules that we're trying to peg the use of the money to COVID and the negative impacts of COVID. Earlier on, they were trying to make sure that the money that we were allocated that kind of was a result of COVID was being spent on things that were hurt by COVID. Sounds good in principle. When you get down to these smaller units, it is overwhelming to these small units, and so, $1.5 million, how do we so anyways, they created this carve-out standard allowance, and it also comes with streamlined reporting, which is good for our township and the finance department. So as long as the money that we receive from the feds, from ARPA, is used for a lawful township expenditure under state statute, then we can use it for such. Now, there are some allowances that there are some things that you can use these dollars for at the federal level that are described at the federal level, but because they're the Fed and they're dealing with the whole country, and every state's a little different. Even though it might be allowed on the federal legislation, if it's not allowed in the state statute, we can't use it for that. And another way to think about it is that we can use it for any normal township need. It really takes the strings off everything. And so, for instance, the money can be used for township halls and facility construction, renovations, etc. Any equipment here in the township, copiers, security, ventilation. We don't have, we can use it for maintenance vehicles. Anything that you see in the approved budget, you can use the money for, because those are all in the approved general fund budget, I should say. Lighting, recycling services, roads, election equipment, feasibility studies. You can even use the funds as matching funds for non-federal grants. You can't use the federal money to match a federal grant. What you cannot use the money for is to offset a reduction in the millages. If you wanted to lower millages by the equivalent of 1.4 million, can't do that. You cannot use it to contribute to a rainy day fund. We don't have a rainy day fund, so that's not relevant. We have fund balance policies, but we don't have a rainy day fund. We cannot use it to fund retirement plans or other post-employment benefit liabilities that we may have. What's still in place is that the monies need to be obligated by 12/31/24 and then spent by 12/31/26. So that's some background that hopefully can inform your discussion.
Questions? I have one question regarding the qualification. You said general fund. One of the ideas that we had talked about in the past was using some funds potentially on enterprise funds. Are you saying that's out?
No, I apologize. I emphasize the general fund just because that's the fund that's on my mind mostly. But it is allowable for utility, water, sewer projects, infrastructure, equipment, wages, salaries, all that kind of thing. As it relates to any discussion you may have on the utilities and the use of funds over there. I will help you recall that we have a couple applications in on both the water side and the sewer side for capital funding, the project plans that were reviewed with you all, approximately 10 million of projects that we've applied for on the water side and approximately 5 million on the sewer side. Those could come in the form of loans, grants, or a combination thereof. And so I only bring that up because if we're successful in that area, then I'm not sure there'd be any real rationale for wanting to use that money on the utility side. And so anyways.
And I didn't mean to indicate that that's where my thought process was on enterprise. I heard your qualification, and I wanted to make sure I understood. Trustee Smith.
So if we were to look at some of the gaps in our sidewalk system where it's a safety concern, this could be used for the sidewalks. It could also be used for any easement issues, anything that goes along with attaining the construction of it. Would that also include possible legal stuff that would go along with the construction of
Yeah, it
sidewalks?
could be used for consultants, feasibility studies,
Attorneys,
legal.
etc. So, because as we know, the bluegrass corridor is a nasty corridor, and I guess my opinion, I would not, we're kind of, I don't want to get off topic and stuff, but I'd like to, the board to kind of be a little bit more aggressive on pursuing that with funding, hopefully in the budget or through ARPA funding, on getting those gaps taken care of on bluegrass. My 2 cents, and I thought it would be a good use for a good portion of the ARPA funds.
Well, but the landowners don't want us to have a sidewalk there. We can't force them to do that.
But
Well,
if we were
there's-
able to purchase easements,
There's
because the
other-
issue is easements on,
Yeah, we are,
on
and
bluegrass.
so we're gonna buy them off?
I mean, that's how you get easements.
That's how you
sometimes.
get
Oh,
it.
so nobody ever said this to the board before? They just said that property owners didn't wanna do it, even if we were gonna pay the whole amount?
Well, there'd be a significant cost on the easements and
Right.
stuff, so that's, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know what the dollar amounts would even look like, anything. I'm just saying, maybe that's something that we could consider.
Did these people, Ronnie never said that they wanted money to have an easement. I don't remember. him
I don't think it's
saying
ever actually been proposed
I don't think it's
before.
ever been, I'm not saying it's ever even been proposed by the township. I'm just saying, as we go down this route, I would like to see it done, in whatever it takes to get it done.
I love the idea because it's been over a decade that we've been trying to get those sidewalks in. And they've been approved since 12, I think. The engineering was done and monies were approved back then.
I was gonna say, yeah, I came in on 14, so,
Yeah.
and
In
it was
fact,
still being worked on then.
this was discussion I had at the table at lunch yesterday, was about the gaps that we have in our sidewalks over there. And-
So-
Yeah,
and-
I was on sidewalk committee.
Yeah.
I know all about it.
So, so yeah, that just was such a high cost that I'm sure it probably wasn't really discussed, and I don't want, I'm just throwing that.
for it. I
I'm
didn't
just,
know it was
I'm
possible.
just throwing that out there, and just as like, maybe that'd be a good way, instead of just taking general fund monies, is that this is money.
Well, but
That's
we have
for
some
safety.
money earmarked, don't we, for that? Or no,
For,
for the
Bluegrass.
bluegrass?
I don't know, do we?
We have some funds budgeted in the 2023 budget for sidewalks generally. I don't know that we really specifically.
Oh, okay.
Because some of it was what we could get done, right?
And some of that money that, was part of the budget amendment, but we used some of that sidewalk money because we knew we wouldn't be getting to all those projects for something else, but might have been a different sidewalk that,
Mm.
but we have money budgeted in FY '23 for sidewalks. And there'll be money in the recommended budget in '24 for sidewalks. But it's, as it relates to Bluegrass, it's always been about the easements because there's no county right-of-way left to place the sidewalk in.
I think we'd have to set a parameter for how much we're willing to pay for that.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that would probably be more of a closed session discussion at that point. If we were to get into specifics on anything like purchasing easements and stuff, wouldn't that be a,
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
that's,
So-
I'm pretty certain that's an eligible
yeah.
closed session topic, because it's essentially making a claim on real estate.
I'm just doing a 30,000-foot view on it, just saying maybe we should look into it. Just my thought, you guys can,
Well, at the
So-
very least, if we began a process of, can we even get the easements? Because again, nobody's has to give it to us.
No.
We could do it through eminent domain, which is not a path I'd like to see us go down.
Right.
But if we're able to accomplish that in any way, that would be awesome.
but
I agree.
it's a tough nut.
Well, I think we all agree on that, don't we? Yeah, I think we do. But I don't wanna spend $1 million on it.
Right.
I'm not gonna do that.
No.
All right, well, I'll vote for it.
What's a life worth?
Pardon?
What's a life worth?
Well,
That's a dangerous, dangerous road. Somebody will die out there. What's a life worth?
well, that's not what I'm talking about. There's a lot of things we can spend the money on, but just to pay off landowners?
Well, it's for the sidewalk, for the safety of the community, right? Yeah, it's a
pay
tough
off
one.
these rich
It's a tough one.
landowners. Okay. Well, there's
The
gonna be a limit.
reality, from my perspective, and it could be wrong, is where we've had the easement problems largely is vacant land. And the reason these vacant landowners typically don't want this is they don't want something that now they have to maintain. But if they're to have their property improved in any way and be given a small stipend essentially for that, they might be more amenable to that.
Sorry to open up a can of worms. It just,
No, I think,
Good conversation.
I think it's,
Good conversation.
So-
I would love to explore it and see, do the landowners, are they open to the idea of this happening?
Yeah,
Right?
I'd be,
Because if it's not gonna happen in a reasonable budget, then we look at other avenues.
I mean, yes. I'll look into it, but I'm not gonna say how much I would vote for to pay these people off. To me, if you got somebody walking on your land and there's no sidewalk, your liability's higher if they break their leg. So I think it is, so I think they're all silly, but.
Yeah, they're walking there now anyways.
Yeah, I know that, but what I'm saying
Right.
is, a free sidewalk, I don't know how they can turn it down.
Yeah.
but-
All right. Other? Along those lines, I'm real open to pathways too. We've had some pathways we've continued to try to get, and I don't have specifics in mind.
Yeah,
But-
I'm all for it. I
but-
spend every single dime on pathways.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
street
the
and sidewalks.
shoulders that we put over here on Broomfield and Lincoln, that came up in our discussion at lunch yesterday too. They're like, so many people use those bike lanes. I'm like, well, they're wide shoulders. But, I think we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from that. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the sidewalks that have been put in. All this stuff goes to safety. All this goes to health. All this goes to just generally supporting non-motorized traffic, which has been a long time pillar of boards, not just this board, but many boards before us. So I'm open to also just pathways aside from sidewalks, if that makes sense.
Yes.
so I'm assuming that we'll probably have much more detailed discussions in the budget process, and so it'd have to be obligated by the end of next budget year, so it'll be actually in next year's budget, the ARPA fund obligations for the most part.
Yeah, so this might be a good segue for what I would be recommending. And I could imagine that in the 2024 recommended budget, you would see a revenue line item in, we'll call it the federal grants account, if there is such an account, that has 900 and, that you'll see a $990-some thousand revenue entry. And you will see no expenses related to that money. Okay? Just follow me a minute. The effect of that will be that all that revenue flows to fund balance. Right? Everybody with me? And that in and of itself would constitute the obligation of the funds by 12/31/24, because it's been budgeted. And because you can use the money on all your traditional expenses, all the expenses, arguably, or not arguably, they have been paid for in part with ARPA funds. All legitimate. All things being equal, you've added 900 and some thousand to fund balance. Okay? And then at the end of the year, or somewhere during the year, you take action to reserve a portion of that fund balance. And there's 3 different levels of reservation. Sherry, you can probably tell me, committed, obligated, something else or something, but the board action would effectively reserve $994,000 of fund balance for, create some general term, future, some language that's pretty broad. And what you've accomplished is you've got ARPA money behind you, you've used it, we can report it, we can close that out, and through the reservation resolution, you have not lost the ability to earmark it, if you will. And we're not up against any deadlines or any of that kind of jazz. It feels like that would satisfy a need that I hear on the board, that we don't want to just use it for wages and benefits, even though it's allowable. So by reserving the fund balance that, all things being equal, used to be 0 and now it's 994,000, you preserve that opportunity to have discussions for the next 10 years if you want, until you take other board action as to how you specifically want it used.
So then by rolling into the fund balance on the balance sheet, then we'd have, that would be considered spent too by 26? That would be considered obligated and spent?
Oh, it'll be spent, it'll be considered spent in
It'll be
24,
spent in
from the
24,
federal
okay.
Fed's perspective.
Okay.
They're,
Yeah.
they're just, if we didn't use it for general fund
Okay.
stuff, we're $1 million in the plus, essentially.
Yeah, okay.
As long as we don't budget something in the amount of 994,000 specifically
For that.
using that ARPA money.
Okay.
We're
Gotcha.
just gonna say, and we'll pull out the, because we have to do reporting to the Fed. We'll just take the first $994,000 of expenses
Yeah.
and go, here, Fed, is what we spent the money on.
Okay, okay.
That's how I would handle this whole thing.
I like it, but go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and I may be wrong here. Are we 932, not 994?
I
On
don't know
that-
what the exact
okay.
amount is.
The
It's 900 and something.
okay, the ARPA commitments by Board of Trustee as of July 27th, 932,772.07
That
was
has
the form
not
I got.
changed.
So.
Well, this is kind of what I've been suggesting, because I always thought of this as, it's just which buckets are things coming from, right? Because there aren't the restrictions on it that we originally thought, we have a lot of flexibility. And some of the discussion was enterprise funds at one point. But in the same light, I like the idea of the township's already healthy. We just be healthier essentially, right? If we don't find something. But if there is the right thing, if it is inexpensive to fix bluegrass, for example, and we feel that's the right need, it'd be nice to be able to knock that off. I mean, when I first ran for trustee in 2012, I ran on trying to get sidewalks in there. And we still don't have them. It's, so I'm really glad you brought that one up, because that's always been on my mind too.
Feels to me like it creates flexibility and options for the board. We could be pursuing easements if people are asking for so much money, there's never gonna be, agreement among the board. And we move to pathways, or we move to roads or something.
Yeah.
And we're not under a time constraint. It'll be the wording of the, what are the forms of commitments you make in fund balance?
Committed,
Restricted.
assigned, well, yeah, first restricted, committed, assigned, and then unassigned.
And what?
Unassigned,
So commitment, or what's the other one?
assigned.
It's all
Restricted.
assigned. So there's, and I don't know the exact differences, but a resolution that commits / and or assigns, depending on which one we think makes the most sense, a $930-some thousand assignment or commitment to something fairly broad, but not so broad as to make it useless.
Sounds good.
My biggest fear in this process all along has been that we commit to something that has an ongoing liability cost.
Yes.
That we end up putting in the township where we have to spend $100,000 every year to maintain something that ARPA paid for. If we end up spending it on roads, I will be thrilled to tell our residents that we spent ARPA money on roads. I guess what, my point of that last statement was I'm really open to all the ideas this board has, really. With the hesitation of the one concern is creating a liability that is ongoing.
Yep.
Other ideas people want to share? Everybody's been anxious to talk about this. We got it in front of us now.
Well, I can tell you that putting it in the general fund with a reservation on it just tells me that the board's gonna continue to kick it down the road, and it's never gonna get spent. Then it'll eventually just be absorbed in the general fund and spent on something then, That's what it feels like, but I mean, I get where it's gonna be easier. I also still hold up the head end for the pathway. I don't see why we can't do that. It's a small parking lot with like 10 spaces. It's not expensive in real terms, and it's just a parking lot. That's all it is. You don't have to do anything else except put a plastic covered map on it. That's it. I mean, I don't know how that can be so liable for all of our money. It's certainly not gonna be $100,000 a year to maintain, but I think that would be a really good asset. There's no place to park for that pathway in Union Township. So you can't park anywhere except at the college on one of their properties. And then go to it, which is at least a half a mile away.
And we do have a parks plan coming up, and I hope that's explored at least, because the idea's been put about quite a bit.
Okay.
Isn't that where we're putting that well too, in that same?
In the
piece
back,
of
and that's,
property?
when we put the well there, that's why I asked about the use of that property, because we had some ideas. Because I like the idea of a trailhead at the very least, where you can park and get on your bike and go. I think that's a great idea.
We're gonna have the construction equipment in there for that well. Oh, that's a great idea.
Well, Bill Houck had the idea.
Mhm. Yeah, we went over and looked at it, and James. Yeah, we were all batting that around a couple years ago, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we walked all the way through the property.
Well, I mean, like in, if you look at the Fred Meyer Trail in Alma, Vestaburg, all those, other than Alma, those are all dirt parking lots for the head ends. They're not fancy. They don't have to be fancy. How did those dirt parking lots get there? You know?
So let me ask a question, because you brought this up. If it all gets absorbed, I think is the word you use, in the general fund over time, because there's not a specific thing the board decides, this is where the ARPA money's going, we're gonna use it just to help pay bills, right? Is that a bad thing? I just wanna ask the question of the board. What are the feelings on that? I'm just curious where everybody's at on that. I don't think that's a bad thing. If there are things that we can do, like the trailhead or bluegrass, to me, that's phenomenal to be able to do something that we might otherwise not have gotten done.
I agree with that.
But if it gets absorbed, because we can't come to consensus, I'm also very happy that it helped the taxpayers keep our balance good. So I'm flexible on that, but I was kind of curious if, is it a bad thing if it gets absorbed and pays expenses?
I think it's not a bad thing, it's just not a good thing.
That's well put.
I think we've got enough.
I
We've got
kind of
enough
like.
ideas out there of things to be done that we may hit on something.
Eh,
The
I
trailhead
mean-
is a great idea. The sidewalk, absolutely. I mean, if we were able to accomplish those two things,
That's all I need.
then
Yeah, those would be pretty awesome.
That's a win, win-win.
Yeah. If, I'm gonna throw one more out, I mentioned it already, roads. Roads are very important to our residents, and we'll see in the survey if it's still important, but historically, the roads have been very important. If we're able to bring our roads up a little bit, that would be huge too, to me.
That could be a defining factor of what direction we want to walk in.
I like the roads too. I like the
Because it's-
pathways better.
Me too, I get it, I'm just saying. And maybe, having this survey done, and we get it, just a reminder, Monday, right? We're meeting Monday on that. We get the survey feedback, that may help guide us a little bit too, on where the priorities are today versus 6, 7 years ago.
But we could have maybe our community and economic director talk to the landowners and see if they're open to on bluegrass.
Do you know if he has a feeling, if the idea proposed by Trustee Smith, do you know if Mr. Nanny has a feeling of feasibility of that idea at all? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think there's been any direct questions. My impression is that there's been a couple incentive programs offered to them in the past that weren't lucrative enough for them to bite on. And so, it's just, where is that number? And maybe just do what you can on bluegrass and not, if the idea is to fill the gaps, then start filling them. If you're gonna allocate a certain amount of money, max per easement to do the whole thing, that, maybe enough for one property owner, but not enough for the other type of thing, and you begin to box yourself in. But there's gotta be a number. Everybody has a number, everything's negotiable. And if you really wanted to get out there and really make a name and an impression, to be really kind of like out of the box, I could see imagine the Aquatic Authority. They're going through fundraising. They're going to be borrowing money. They're going to be trying to pass a levy, and you could imagine that the township stands up and says, "We're going to create a match program. So every dollar of private donations will match $1, and allocate $500,000 to that, and it'd make if they raise $500,000, you'd spend your $500,000 of ARPA money, and all of a sudden the rec authority has $1 million.
That sounds pretty good.
That's way out of the box, I think. But you can do. That.
Mm-hmm.
In the short term, their need, speaking of the Aquatic Authority, their need is to raise money for awareness of the election, right?
Yeah, and they're doing that.
Is everybody going to that on the 22nd? At the 1217 Coffee Roasters? The Aquatic Authority?
And I just use that as an example of how out of the box you could be with the ARPA money. And,
Yeah.
All right, so what do you want here to happen? Anything at this point?
Clerk Cody? What?
Well, our manager has suggested, one, we have a budget process coming up, that we put that at least in the initial budget that we're working on. Two, what I heard is it would be nice to know, is the going after those bluegrass sidewalks, is it even gonna be feasible? And if so, at this point, I don't think any of us have an idea of what that cost is, right? So it's hard for us
How many parcels are there that need to be dealt with?
I mean, if you went after one side versus both sides, I'm trying to think.
Got the big one right next to Hunter's Ale
Hunters,
House.
yeah, that's the
Yep.
biggest strip.
That's the
Yeah.
biggest strip right there, and he's out of the area owner. And then I think the other ones are just small little segments on the north side, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
so I was thinking the north side was probably the
The closest.
closest one to finish off.
I believe Sam's already has that. Sam's and Walmart already have that strip planned out, right?
Right?
On that
Oh.
one section by the bank and
Yeah,
There's a
Dick's there.
project going on in the shopping area that has Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yep.
They're redoing some of the frontage of that building.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of that process, there's gonna be some sidewalk put in
That's
Yeah.
big.
Wow.
that heads
Mhm.
east on the south side,
Yeah.
because we're having them do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So it may be prudent to wait for a little while to see where the developers go on some of that stuff.
And that site plan's already been approved.
Okay.
and,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see it to be put in the budget similarly as Marcus described, and then the challenges on us then.
Yeah.
I believe that it may be two separate resolutions, but I don't know why you couldn't pass a resolution that approves the budget, and at the same time, pass a resolution that reserves a part of the fund balance. I don't know that it even has to wait to the end of the fiscal year. I think you could pass a resolution right now that
Mhm.
commits or assigns or does something with fund balance. It's just,
Yeah.
not necessarily. And that way it helps you all be able to communicate that you're still working on what to spend it on. And we took this action, which means that cash is fungible, that it didn't just go to wages. We passed a resolution committing it to some description that gets into recreation or health or something. And you can do that at the same time you approve the budget. It might give you a little confidence that it's not just gonna get spent on wages and benefits.
How can we get an estimate on on a potential head end? How can we get an estimate or talk, have Gordy Fraser look into it or whatever? I don't know. How do we do that?
An estimate for what?
For
The
For
trailhead.
a trailhead parking lot.
We could get a rough estimate of that.
That would be.
I would love to see something that comes in close to $932,000.
That's a really nice
Spend it
parking
all at
lot.
once. We can
Not
break
doing a
this, we
Walmart
can break this
parking
into
lot.
2 or 3 pieces.
That's
We could
right.
spend 50,000 on one thing and 940
Yeah,
on something else.
yeah.
Yeah, and you
I
can
was
also,
gonna
Eight
say
ninety.
that doesn't add up.
Sorry, Mike.
because we have to administer the projects and all that. And, to deal with 10 of them, small dollar amounts is much harder for us than
Yeah.
one large.
Well, having said that, though, if we did roads, for example, and we committed 500,000 to roads, instead of being that, what's in the general fund now, it's new grant money that's being used on that. Then we've got one other project for 442,000. We're not
this-
really adding
Right.
projects.
This is just a thought, and, the process, the flow of funds, I'll call it, that I described. During the budget discussion, you're probably gonna see, something related to Lincoln, south of Broomfield. Okay? Needs work down to, what is the next one, Deerfield.
Deerfield.
And, there's gonna be some estimate from the road commission, it's gonna be not a small number probably. And there's gonna be a need to do some cost sharing, so you could, say, well, that 900,000 that Stool Drayer put in the revenue line item, but there's no associated expense. Let's, use whatever the county is asking us for, we negotiate for cost sharing to do that. And all of a sudden, some of it's spent. I think was an answer to your question.
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to say that I agree with not wanting to burden with 15 different projects that are brand new. It can be on things that we're already doing.
And in the budget process, you can decide a portion of this 900 we want on this thing. This discrete thing.
What do you think?
I'm thinking it's good. I like Mark's idea for that location.
So I didn't want to limit
Takes the
us
pressure off us.
on this discussion in any way. So anything else? Or are you ready to move on?
I think we've given some good options and
Appreciate the
I'm good.
discussion. Yeah, all right. Yeah, as long as there's no objections, then we'll move on to new business item C. First meeting of manager performance evaluation. So I hope you all brought your stuff.
Nope. Yep.
Been through this before. So, what I found most useful last time was, as we went through, I kind of tried to mix up who I started with, but each person gives an opportunity to give their grade, and if you want to expand on why you chose that, or answer questions from someone. So if Trustee Brown puts a 1 down for something I put a 5, I might want to query why you thought a 1 was appropriate. Or you might want to query why my 5 was appropriate. Right. So is that a reasonable approach?
Fine.
So with that, let's just, let's begin the process. Any other comments on procedures or
No.
anything? Okay. So since I already picked on you, Trustee Brown, we'll start with you on number 1. Union Township exists to support a sustainable community through the most effective use of resources that achieve the highest quality of life.
I scored 4. Reason being, it exceeds expectations. I believe that the township, it does do that. And the reason being not a 5 is that, of course, we have room to improve. And we just talked about that, Bluegrass Road, gaps in sidewalks, and road conditions, different elements in the township. And that's why I scored it a 4.
3.
3?
3.
4.
Hope I'm not violating rules. I did 3.5.
Oh, I didn't see
Ryan,
that.
only you.
He wants at least
Do we
three decimal
do we-
places.
Where do we see a 3.5 on the grading
It's
scale?
between 3 and 4,
One
right
in
between
every
it.
group.
You know,
Trustees aren't good
All
with
right.
decimals.
Clerk Cody, number 1.
3.
3, 4.
3.
And just as a reminder, if you can get a copy of what you have, if you want to keep yours, but at the end of the night, hopefully submit to me your updated sheets, right? Or electronic,
No, I'm actually putting them in for you.
Okay, thank you very
So-
much. Anything else on that first one? Residents engage in a vibrant community life. Trustee Bills?
3.
3. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't give you a chance to comment.
I don't need to comment.
I figure you'll interject if you need
I
to. So.
apologize.
4.
I didn't do this in every one, but 3.5 again.
Sure you didn't.
I had it at a 3, but since we put that in, changed it to a 4, or the fitness center.
Put what in?
The fitness center thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because now they have more to
Right.
do with this. So my last one was a 3, I believe. Now it's a 4, because we added more to it.
Trustee Therian?
3.
1.3. Just as an.
Did we get Jeff's?
Oh yeah, I think I come back to you, Jeff. Or,
Is this
sorry,
for
Trustee Brown.
1.1?
Yeah.
1.3. Just as a reminder too, this section, the first section, is what we struggled on the most last year because it's broader than just the organization
Yep.
itself. Too, it's partly grading ourselves.
Yep.
Is how we felt at least.
Yep.
So 1.2, Trustee Smith.
I did a 3. You know, and I'm
Not
doing 3s on most of these because it's so, so overreaching that it's really hard to give an effective grade. And so I think for this, 3 is a very good grade. So that's why I gave it a 3.
3.
3, not 3.5. 3.
4.
3.
3.
3.
You get all that, Treasurer Rice?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of put you on the spot, Trustee Smith. Maybe this is the wrong one to put you on the spot on.
I was gonna say he did the last one.
I
so
did the
No,
last
start
I
with
know,
me.
but I wanted to go back briefly.
Oh.
All residents enjoy a safe environment. 3, like you said, is a good score, but I was kind of curious why you thought maybe, because I put a 3 as well, but where can
Well,
we do
to me, I
better?
think that's considered a really good score. I think with the sidewalks and everything going on. So when the board gives Mark the task and the budget and everything else to work with, I think, doing the sidewalks was a 3, and I think that met the board's expectations on that area.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. 1.4, residents of all ages shall have access.
1.3.
1.3, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep the score here myself a little bit. All residents enjoy a safe environment. We're on to
4. From me.
4. I went back to 3.5.
3.
3.
4.
3.
3.
3.
What was Lisa's? 3?
3.
Okay. Thank you.
1.4, residents of all ages shall have access to facilities that enable an active, healthy lifestyle. On to Clerk Cody now, right?
4.
4.
I think last year, I did 3. This year I did a 4 because of the park, and I wrote a note on here, when the swimming pool comes, it'll change to a 5.
4.
I gave it a 5.
Wow.
I
Nice.
think the park right there, plus what was done at Jameson,
Mhm.
accompanied with the sidewalks and everything else. I think Jameson Hall, with the new equipment and getting the grant monies out there, I think was an excellent job, and so I gave it a 5.
Nice.
Awesome.
I did 4 again.
And this is my first high score. This is I gave it a 4 for similar reasons. Did I get everybody? I started with you, Lisa.
I used to say it's James now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
1.5, is that where we are?
1.5.
1.5, residents
Yeah.
can enjoy the natural, and I'm only reading this for the public if they happen to be watching. You all have it in front of you. There is a reason I'm reading it. Residents can enjoy the natural resources and green space of the township.
3.5.
Wait a
Wait,
minute.
what? Can you do that?
I don't know. You tend to.
Supervisor, I can do it.
There you go. Trust.
It's my only 5 I've gave in this section, 5 on that one.
4.
3.
4.
And a 4.
3.
Okay.
I think we probably had the most variation on that one. 1.6, we'll go back to Trustee Brown. Commercial establishments, including new, innovative, traditional, are drawn to Union Township through commerce-friendly economic development policies.
3.
2.
I struggled with this because to me, the way it's written, I mean, this is more of an analysis on the board and the policies and everything else. So I don't want this to be perceived as a I gave it a 2, but it's not necessarily indicative on the manager and the staff. So I think this is more of an overall 2 on all of us.
Yeah, for me, it was more what we've heard negatively from the business community this last year. And I think that we do not have commerce-friendly economic development policies because they are speaking back to us. So that's what I think.
And I'm taking that with a grain of salt. I'm not factoring that in per se. I'm just saying that this is just my
Right.
opinion, and I don't want to he said, she said type stuff. I don't want to base an evaluation on, unless it's factual and put in writing. I'm not, that's just my opinion.
Thank you.
3.
3? 3? Clerk Cody?
3.
3.
Okay, that's our roughest section, I think, that we typically have, right? We need a quick breather before we head into 2.0.
This isn't hard work.
Okay, it's not, all right.
Just-
I'm having to talk a lot, so.
Do you need a breather?
Water?
Yeah,
maybe.
water. Yeah, get some water.
So those point fives are the problem.
Yeah,
You just follow the rules.
I know you did that just for me. I really appreciate it. So 2.0, township manager shall not cause or allow any practice, activity, decision, or organizational circumstance which is either unlawful, imprudent, or in violation of commonly accepted public administrative practice and professional ethics. And we are on trustee bills.
5.
4.
4.
5.
3.
3.
5.
A little more variance than I'm used to. Anybody have comments?
I mean, I think 3 definitely meets expectations. It could be a 4, it could be a 5. I mean, I see no, I'm not concerned at all. So I just, 3.
And just so you know, why I ask some of these questions is the guy we're talking about, the person in question, is sitting next to me. And it is, I think, helpful for him to hear us speak about that, right? Rather than just giving a hard score, to understand why we give the scores we give.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I
I
think
have a
the-
reason on why I'm asking questions.
I think the manager excels in his organizational policies and everything, so I think that kind of goes right along with this.
He's a lot more organized than I am, I can tell you that.
Well, it's not important if you're organized or not, really.
I do have a day job. Okay, thank you. 2.1, With respect to interactions with consumers or those applying to be consumers, township manager shall not cause or allow conditions, procedures, or decisions that are unsafe, undignified, unclear, unprofessional, indirect, untimely, inaccurate, or unnecessarily intrusive. And we are to Trustee Smith.
3.
4.
4.
4.
3.
4.
4.
I'm only pausing if there's anyone wants to say anything. Okay. 2.2, with respect to the treatment of paid and volunteer staff, township manager may not cause or allow conditions which are unfair, undignified, disorganized, unclear, or violate collective bargaining agreements. Treasurer Rice.
5.
5.
4.
3.
5.
4.
3.
With respect to employment, compensation, and benefits to employees, consultants, contract workers, volunteers, and collective bargaining units, the township manager shall not cause, shouldn't say nor allow jeopardy to fiscal integrity or public image. I put a 5.
4.
3.
I put it 5.
5.
3.
4.
I think the fact that we don't have a ton of turnover reflects that. You know.
Oh, that's a great.
That was,
point.
yeah,
Yeah.
Very good point.
and I think that's huge right now because what we're seeing is exactly high turnover in a lot of places
Yes, right.
because unemployment's so low.
Yeah.
Employees are happy.
We like it.
And that starts from
I'm
the
thinking
top,
about getting
which,
an application.
Okay. Dang it. I won't get that job.
Depends.
2.4, financial planning for any fiscal year or the remaining part of any fiscal year shall not deviate materially from board's ends priorities, risk financial jeopardy, or fail to be derived from a multi-year plan. Clerk
4.
Cody.
4.
If I could score this one higher than 5, I would have. This is 5,
5.
for sure.
5.
5.
4.
2.5.
Yeah, I'm just rereading it now that we got some nice 5s in there and I was wanting to judge. 2.5, coming your way, Trustee Thering. With respect to the actual ongoing financial condition and activities, the township manager shall not cause or allow the development of fiscal jeopardy or a material deviation of actual expenditures from board priorities established in ends policies.
I actually have a 4, but I want to change that to a 5, please, and thank you.
Fair enough.
I'm ponying on with James with 5.
5.
4.
5.
5.
5.
Fairly high scores on that one.
I'm the outlier.
It's okay.
That's okay.
We need people like you.
Keeps us honest.
Township manager shall not
Yeah.
not allow corporate assets, to be unprotected, inadequately maintained, or unnecessarily risk. Trustee Brown.
5.
5.
4.
5.
5.
4.
3. It's all
Okay.
good.
You're not the outlier this time.
No, I mean, I'm 100%. I mean, again, some of these, a 3 and the different, it's. I'm
Well, let me tell you why I did a
satisfied.
5 and talk me out of it.
Okay,
Um,
I'm not going to. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Well,
I'm interested.
Yeah, no, I think, with regards to our most important assets outside of the human side, right? Because I think our staff is the most important asset, but from a physical asset, our enterprise, water and sewer, we've called it our crown jewel in many ways. I think the organization, the board, the whole team makes sure that we have great facilities. They're clean when we have those tours. I'm amazed at how clean they are. The equipment that is used. We just replaced a truck that was from 2006. And I would have never known that looking at it. It's amazing to me how well things are kept, and that's why I went 5. So, talk me off the cliff.
Want me to talk you off that cliff?
Yeah.
I can't.
Okay.
I think we're ready to proceed.
All right.
I mean, there's
just
no
curious.
there's no part of that that I'm not satisfied. I mean, I look at, if anybody gives a 3,
That's good.
That's
I mean, I'm almost considering that almost. I mean,
3 is good.
it could easily be a 4 or a 5 in a lot of respects. So
Okay. Thanks.
no concern.
Right.
because it meets your expectations.
Who's on 2.7 then? Me?
I think it's you. So
You.
the township manager may not enter into any grants and contract arrangements that fail to emphasize primarily the production of ends and secondarily the avoidance of unacceptable means.
3.
3.
4.
5.
4.
3.
4.
2.98, coming at you, Trustee Smith. In order to protect the board from sudden loss of township manager services, the township manager shall not operate without a written plan identifying no fewer than 2 other named executives familiar with board and township manager issues and processes.
I gave it a 4 because I think it exceeds the expectations of it by the manager properly training them for that role when he's gone.
4.
4.5.
4.
10.
That's not it.
I almost want to say 4.
If you could
5.
use a 3, 5.
A 5.
4.
4.
You too.
I'm completely thrown off right now.
I mean, my 5 was there's not only the training, it's tiered, several tiers, and they rotate with the opportunity of having the chair when Manager Stuhldreher is unavailable. So it's more than just training. So
Yeah, I think this is something that the township has improved a lot in over the last few years. Let's see, this is coming to Treasurer Rice next. 2.9, in order to maximize achievement of ends, the township manager shall not fail to explore strategic partnerships and intergovernmental cooperation and to optimize collaboration with other entities in the region where appropriate.
4.
4.
4.
4.
4.
3.
4.
4. Oh, sorry.
Got us?
Yep. Sorry, I'm in a goofy mood tonight. We're good. Was there only 1 3?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
No, I didn't call out who it was.
I didn't say any names here. Come on.
I
Yeah,
was
Brian's
I was
like,
counting the number of 4s I
There's
put
one.
down. I'm like, wait a minute.
1 3.
Got it.
I think we'll go back to Trustee Bills for this one, even though it's out of order. I'm teasing. This one's to me. Township manager shall not permit the board to be uninformed or unsupported in its work. I put a 4. Clerk Cody.
5.
4.
5, 5, 5.
3.
4.
4.
All right, I guess before we move on to these last 3 sections, looking back on any of that, is there anything that, since this is essentially a beginning of an evaluation process, anything that you all want to add to these scores, just comments that you'd like the manager to hear? I'm asking. I'm not suggesting you have to do it.
Are you suggesting
What he
decimals?
does well?
No.
Oh, okay.
Are
I'm
we,
sorry.
On what he does well, is that what you mean? Or like,
No, but
these
if there was
questions?
something in particular that you wanted to lift up from some of this that you'd like to comment on,
No.
if you're not in that position, that's fine. I just thought I'd give you the opportunity. Seeing no one jumping in, we'll get to the general, more free-form portion of the evaluation. Clerk Cody, we're gonna come hit you first. What things does the manager do well?
he works great with staff, team player, always willing to help and or listen. Is that, okay.
Great.
I have manager stool dryer is organized and thorough.
I have very organized, extremely knowledgeable in his position, keeps trustees informed, especially when it comes to anything with the assets of the township. Manager follows the policy governance very well.
Manager runs the township by working with staff to make sure there are no complications, and he has a good long-term strategy.
The two main areas for me would be the financial budgeting and then the organizational skills on keeping everything organized and running in the same direction.
Mine was organized and knowledgeable about all aspects. That was,
I added 2 notes based on your comments that I'll lift up as separate, but excellent organizational management. I think he does a good job informing the board and is timely about that. We're always getting emails that, whether it be water leak, and I know that's not always just the manager either, it's the organization, but it all falls on his back, right? I think just on more personal note, I think our manager works well with me in my interactions with public or more formal situations, helping me get prepared, giving me background, letting me know what's going on. I mean, I really appreciate that partnership that we have in creating part of a face for the township when I have to go out and do things, right? But I heard also staff, I don't know why I didn't think of that here, but I think our manager runs a culture where staff is appreciated, and I think the comments, I think it was Trustee Bill said earlier about turnover. I think that's a key indicator of that exactly. And then I can't believe, Trustee Smith, I didn't put down financial, because I think a lot of our high scores that we were having had to do with that side of the business.
Well, that's included in my strategy comment.
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
You're not.
Okay. Are we good?
I think so.
Trustee Therian, what areas could the manager improve upon?
I actually don't have any comments on that at this time. I didn't have any
I do,
thoughts.
and I won't say this just because he's sitting in a room, but this is exactly what I wrote. This question is hard to answer because I don't work with Mark on a day-to-day basis. What I see from my position as a trustee is there's nothing really to improve on. Look at the scores that I give above, except for one thing. How about bringing treats to the township meeting? Just one suggestion, that's all.
I mean, he did fund an
He's checking his
entire
pockets. I think he
meal
might have a
there for
treat.
the staff, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
He did
Yes.
fund that himself,
That's
so.
I'll turn in the sheets and you can see that I actually did write that, so.
Trustee Bells.
I just had one specific bone to pick, so it's about grant applications, and I just felt a little bit let down that I as a trustee did not know that our master plan was not up to date on our parks, so we couldn't apply for any DNR grants. And there were millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of grants this year, that we could have taken care of, gotten money from it. If there's a grant out there, we should be applying for it. So that I think was a fail. That's it.
As far as room for improvement, I've been here 4 or 5 months, and so I'm still learning this new role. And so, and who's saying what and stuff like this, I think there's a lot of things out there that I don't think are true, and so I'm not going to comment on anything because I'm not going to say anything until I know for sure. So there's nothing right now that I say that there needs improvement on.
It's fair.
I could not think of one. I'm sure there's something, but yeah, I could not think of one when I was sitting down doing it. So
I listed one item, and it's an item that we've talked a lot about in the past. And I lifted this up again because I think it's something we can continually improve. Like, I don't think we can ever achieve where we should be. And that has to do with ownership or customer service. I hate to call it customer because it's not, we're not in a for-profit business, but customer service, and I don't mean that just from the manager, but the organization. But our manager is responsible for the organization. And I think we've made a lot of strides in improving in those areas. But again, I want to say I think that's something to always improve on, because it's that outward face that many of the residents and or businesses see that reflects on the township as a whole. And I think. Close your ears for a minute. Well, no, I actually want you to hear this. I'm going to try to be constructive criticism. I think our manager really knows his job, for one. He's been doing this for a while for other municipalities, and it's easy to trying to think of how to say this. Sometimes it's hard to help someone know what they don't know, right? Meaning you get somebody that comes in here and they're frustrated with something because they don't understand how local government works, right? Those are the people that sometimes need that extra hand-holding. And when you have someone that it's so second nature, sometimes it's hard to come down to that level. Does that make sense?
It's like in college, some of your worst professors are the ones that are so smart that they can't relate to the students that you're talking to.
Yeah, and it's nothing more than the subject matter expert, right? Sometimes it's really hard to get down to where some of these residents are, businesses that I just want to add this 10 feet of building. Why do I have to go through a site plan? And I know that our manager's not always the one dealing with that either, but I think your skill level, your experience is also a weakness, if that makes sense.
Can I say something?
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as customer service, it kind of upsets me that you think it's like, since I started, it has improved so. Like, I mean, I went from here to here.
Yes.
They're taking classes, they're taking trainings, they're cross-training. I mean, he is doing a lot to cross-train people. I mean, as far as staff, I see it. Like,
Yes.
he works great with everyone, comes and checks on everybody, sees it. I mean, it's like here, and it just, I mean,
I agree with you
it's
100%.
But I mean, if everybody's seen it the way I seen it, you would know.
That's true. You're here in
It's
the morning.
improved like more than 100%. I mean, it's great.
And I don't want it. I had to find something
Sorry.
I felt that should be lifted up, because we can always improve on everything, right? I mean, you're always striving for excellence.
But as
And
far
that-
as improvement from this last evaluation, I mean, just even the
Yes.
last year is just
And I think we even spoke to that in the
Skyrocketed.
evaluation last year. We talked about how much that's improved. So I agree 100%. I just think that is so
Sorry.
important that it's worth lifting up to continue to improve upon. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to knock the.
yeah, but it's
yeah.
improved a lot.
Lot.
It's
I agree.
great.
I do. So you're up though, right?
Sorry.
Oh, no.
Oh, I don't have
start-
anything that the manager can approve on. I can't think of anything. It just made me mad that you said that. I don't, honestly,
Well, good
after
one.
seeing them, I can't think of anything.
And no, in my comments.
Snacks, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like
I like that.
Just
No,
saying.
no, in my comments that I was purposely trying to find something, and so I chose that one because it's important to me that we continue to improve on customer service. Does that make sense? And I don't know what those improvements could even be at this point. I couldn't articulate those, but it should always be right in the forefront.
I mean, even like computers, everything's changed so much. It's great. Like I said, I see it firsthand, so I know,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're here in the office now
Sorry.
too. Would you like to comment?
Oh, she hit it.
Okay.
No, and she's probably here more during office hours than I am. I usually come either before or after, so I don't interact with Mark as much, so. But no, I guess I can go on to general comments where.
Well, we'll come to you.
Unless we're-
If we
did
stay in
every-
order,
Okay.
then you can leave them then. So,
Okay.
general comments, Trustee Brown?
Sure. I put as one of the 7 trustees of the Union Township, I would like to thank our manager for the hard work and due diligence. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, thank you.
Manager Stool Dryer does a great job and far exceeds what could be. And I mean, I know what people are like when they just go to work. He doesn't go to work, he goes to work to protect the township and make sure everything runs right. So, you know, I think it's hard to get and it's impossible to replace.
I have to stop you. You told me a couple weeks ago that you were not a wordsmith. I thought that was awesome.
That was great, yes.
Well put.
Just simply put, on the 4 or 5 months I've been here, I've been impressed. I mean, I've gotten to know Mark a lot more on what he can do and has done, and going back a little bit, especially during COVID, on how he handled the crisis. You know, watching it from afar and just seeing what he did was very, very impressive. Doing an excellent job.
So mine was great customer service. It has improved. Great in an emergency situation.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, if something goes wrong, he's clear mind, focused, do what needs to be done. And the staff are trained enough that, you know, they all get it done. But communication is a biggie and has improved greatly, letting us know when things are going on in the township, and that, so. Those were my.
For the record, I think our customer service has improved a lot. I wanted
You
to
did
lift.
say that.
I
You
know.
did. You did
I'm just
say
telling
that.
you, if I was going to lift something up to improve upon, that's the thing I picked. In any event, general comments, and we've heard it a little bit here already, but I think the general culture of the staff seems professional. They're constructive, supportive, positive to each other. I mean, that's a team effort. It does fall from the top, for sure. But you know, you walk into places, and if it's not healthy, you can feel it.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that here. It's amazing. It's really nice. And to keep people in a place where they feel like they're coming to work for a reason, that they have a role, that they're sharing part of being on a team. Those are awesome qualities to instill. It's not easy. We're all human, and we come with our frailties and nuances.
I take those out on the ladies up front.
It starts at the top with Tara.
Does he bring you treats?
Wow. We
I've
bring
seen him
treats
bring
and feed them.
Everything's got new shades. Cookies sometimes.
All right,
Oh, coffee too.
all right, was this a constructive process again?
Yeah.
You think
Yes.
it's still a reasonable way to do this?
Yes.
Do you have a comment?
I do.
So you've got,
I've got the comments, yeah.
Oh, you
Uh-oh,
took comments?
skipped.
You didn't do our general comment.
I didn't, oh, my apologies.
Thanks a
Well,
lot.
I don't have one, but
Trustee Therian, sorry to leave you out.
So under general comments, our manager's report is always excellent and has great information and talks about everything that I think we need to know. There's one thing, and this is a conversation that I appreciate my conversations with Mark outside our regular meetings. I think they're really important, and if you haven't made some time to go in and talk to Mark, I highly recommend it. It's a great learning experience for me, but you also you get sometimes a deeper understanding. I do. One thing, and again, you get that in the manager report, but I like to hear about, and I like to think positive. I like to hear about the positive changes to maybe processes based on customer service interaction. I like to hear some more of those types of things, because as you said, we improve. You learn of something, you make an improvement. You know, for us to hear that is something that we can go out and say, well, hey, you know, this is what we're doing now to help. Be it something on the website, even though you put stuff like that in the manager report, sometimes because it is so full, it's kind of easily overlooked or forgotten. To hear it in a meeting, to listen to Lisa talk, what she just said is, there's no doubt in my mind that happened, but now it's out there for everyone. It's out there for us to talk about. Hey, go talk to Claire Cody. She can tell you firsthand her experience with customer service, where it was then, and it is now. We've done what you should do is improve. So to hear more things like that, I think, however little or big they are, I think is really important. It's something that we as a board can go out and use in talking with our citizens. So Mark, thank you for our conversations. I like them. I don't know if he likes them, but I like them.
I like them very much.
I was just gonna say, I didn't wanna put words in your mouth, but I would guess that, you learn from us as well.
Certainly.
And that it's two-way street there. You may be learning different stuff than we're learning, but, I mean, you get a better feeling for where, yeah, no, it's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's good to hear where some of us are at and where our concerns are. Appreciate your comments. All right, you try to get comments?
I did not get
Okay.
the comments,
So if
but
if people are
I
willing to at
can
least
watch-
give me the last two sheets.
I was gonna say I
I'll
can watch
collate
the
those.
Oh, well,
video.
what I said
Yeah,
in,
you gave it already. I'm sorry.
what I
Want me to
gave
sign
in
it?
general comments, that was actually not written down.
Oh,
That was free form.
I was gonna say I
You
can
can have.
try to watch the video again and come down, and so it's all on one sheet and get it to you again.
that's fine.
That's what I did last year, I think.
It's nice
so.
to have it in the record.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. So this, we'll come back at the next meeting, provided our agenda allows for time. Our manager happened to be sitting here as we're going through this, but it's that collation, right? That, so,
What is
so that
that?
the.
It's fine. Just leave it.
It's just mine.
It's the collation of our
Mouse.
results that's important, because we're supposed to speak as one voice, right? And that way, trustee Bill's outlier, you know, I'm teasing with you, sorry.
It's okay. You do
Brian
what you
actually
gotta
said
do.
he was the outlier on
It's
one, so.
okay.
I was a big outlier.
I was
on
gonna
the
say
one.
we all might have been an outlier on one at some
Well,
point.
if we weren't, then we'd be a bunch of robots.
Yeah.
Would you include all the numbers, not just the average?
I did.
Okay, with what you send me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. They're all in there.
Very good. Anything else?
No.
Let me go home.
Okay.
Please.
Well, we're not quite there yet, we're close. It is 8:40. That brings us to item 12 on our agenda, extended public comment. Extended public comment is restricted to 5 minutes regarding any issue. If you choose to address the public, please state your name and address for the record. Do we have anybody virtual? We do, and with that, we'll open up extended public comment at 8:40 PM.
Frank Engler, 1798 West River Road. I really am sorry, but I would like to make a few comments. And first of all, I'd like to thank the board for allowing Mark to sit in on one of my committees here, and we've only worked together for a few times. But he's been a very valuable member, so thank you for allowing him to share his experience with us. Real quick, I wanted to bring up, because Trustee Bills brought up the septic tank legislation, and it's one of them I've been watching real closely, and before anybody said it, I should get a life, I know it. But currently there's a dual bills going through, 2 in the House and 2 in the Senate. Pretty bipartisan. A lot of the details already looks like they're pretty well agreed on. The big sticking point right now, of course, it seems to be money. How? Because they understand that if you're going to force people to fix their septic tank, there's going to be expense in it. And that is the timeline and how they're going to implement it and what timeline. So Michigan is the only state in the union that does not have the septic regulation. Isabella County is one of 11 counties and 10 townships that has regulation in the county. So why we've been watching this is because we have our time of transfer in there. If this is implemented in its current form, we will probably resend that, but it will probably be 3 or 4 years down the road, but because it would no longer be needed. But that's part of the reason why we're looking at it and why MAC is looking at it, but especially why Isabel County is looking at it. So that's it. So
Thank you.
Perfect.
I know it's been a long meeting, so.
No, it's good.
And, yeah, there's a lot of details in there, but we don't need to go through any of that, but it's a ways away.
Appreciate your comments, thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Engler.
Seeing no one else coming forward, we'll close extended public comment 8:42 PM. That brings us to item 13 on the agenda, manager's comments. Mr. Stuhldreher.
Thanks, and I just have a couple. A reminder that cleanup day is Saturday, September 30th, 8 to 11 a.m., Commission on Aging. Any and all volunteers are welcome. Look forward to seeing, I won't be seeing you, unfortunately. I'd made a prior commitment. I'm going to be in Austin, Texas, visiting my son. I didn't realize it was when I booked that, so apologize for that. But it'll be a good event, and encourage all the residents to work in their barns and garages this next couple of weekends and fill the place up. Friday morning is the fall tribal 2% roundtable discussion. We'll have representatives at that meeting. I thought the fitness court ribbon cutting went very well. It was very well attended. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for their support. And in particular, I want to thank Director Nanny. He was the lead behind this, and he couldn't have done it without the support of Amy Peak. And she deserves a lot of credit for that event as well. We had our annual EPA inspection of the wastewater treatment plant earlier this week. It's been reported to me that Mike Deering and his crew, there were 2 representatives from EPA, and when they debriefed after the inspection, there were no areas of concerns or no comments other than how impressed they were with the operations of the wastewater treatment plant, operations and staff. So I want you all to particularly be aware of that. They toured the facilities, they reviewed training programs, operating procedures, reporting procedures. asset management, staffing levels, laboratory procedures. They do a pretty thorough job, and they had nothing but good things to say about Union Township. So, and with that, I would like to also thank you for your comments earlier this evening during that review portion of your agenda. If I'm meeting your expectations collectively, then I feel pretty happy. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. You good? That takes us to item 14 on the agenda, final board member comment. Trustee Thering?
I'm all good, thanks.
I'll do one quick thing, and I'm just going to barely touch on this because it's early, but I wanted to forewarn the board. I had a resident approach me, is familiar with our neighborhood assessment program for repaving their roads. And this particular resident asked, why doesn't the township kick in a portion of that? I said, that's not our policy. They said, well, we'd like you to consider that. And I said, well, that you have to bring to the board. And I told them I would help bring that if that's what they choose they want to do. So I'm just giving you a heads up that that may come before this board at some point. I'm not trying to allude that I've provided support or pushback on this, just it is, if that makes sense.
For a subdivision or?
For a subdivision.
Pay your taxes if you haven't already.
All
That's
set.
about it.
Trustee Bills?
I thought the ribbon cutting was awesome. And I got to cut the ribbon, which I was really happy about because I like stuff like that. And other than that, no, I really appreciate being able to rest well at night because Manager Stool Dryer takes care of this joint. That email the other day about how the staff was up all night long handing out dirty water flyers. I'm like, geez, don't call me in the middle of the night, man. Oh my God, thank God he's doing that. That's all I've got.
Trustee Brown?
Yeah, one thing, if the public watches any meeting, I hope they watch this meeting so they can see the comments about the Union Township manager. Not only the comments from the trustees, but also the comments from himself, telling us about the EPA in there. It doesn't surprise me at all if that's what the EPA said. In there. It doesn't surprise me one bit. That's what you were going to say. But I would love the residents to see in how we feel and how the manager is running Union Township. And this would be a great meeting for them to watch this, to see exactly who we have on the staff. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mark.
Very good. Happy to entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Support.
Motion by Bill, support by Rice.
Rice, Smith, Brown.
All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
I can't even